All right, thanks, Carissa.
Yes, thanks, Elizabeth. I'm so happy to be here. I'm always happy to talk about ways to support kids who are navigating a loved one's cancer diagnosis, and I think one of the best ways to help them is through books. So that's really the focus of my presentation tonight. A little bit about me. My name is Carissa Hodgson. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and certified oncology social worker, and I have been doing this work now for about 15 years. What got me into this work is that my dad died of lung cancer when I was 7, and then my stepfather died of liver cancer when I was 24. So, supporting families who are going through a cancer diagnosis is something that's just very near and dear to my heart. And I really feel honored to do this work. So, up until 3 years ago, I was the program manager at Gilda's Club Madison and always excited to work with them, like tonight. I am currently the program director at Bright Spot Network. I'm also long-term faculty at and long-term instructor at the Sandra Rosenbaum School of Social Work, where I teach courses on grief and loss and working with individuals, groups, and families, and the co-chair of the Youth, Families, and Cancer Special Interest Group at the National Association of Oncology Social Workers. So my goal for this presentation is first to give you a little bit more information about Bright Spot, talk about what kids need when a loved one has cancer, speak about why books are such an important tool in helping kids to cope, talking about how books can be used beyond the text, and then open this up to Q&A at the very end. Feel free while I'm talking, if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat or Q&A so that you don't forget about it. I probably will hold all questions till the end only because I'm terrible at multitasking. And so it's hard for me to go back and forth between looking at that and my slides. But again, I don't want you to forget it. So feel free to enter those questions if you want. And then at the very end, we'll open it up for discussion. So a little bit about Bright Spot Network. We are a national organization that supports parents who have cancer that were diagnosed while pregnant or while having young children. And our goal is to really, facilitate community for these parents because it's often a very isolating experience. You might have your parent friends, you have your cancer friends, but it's very rare that they overlap. And so we want to give parents everything they need to succeed in the challenges of cancer. So getting them connected to other parents their age to build community, giving them the tools that they need, and also helping kids to connect. So we are a community of parents who have cancer, whereas also a support to partners and for children. Here are some of our foundational programs. We offer this Bright Reads program, which is free books about cancer, big emotions, grief, and loss. We have a curated art and craft box. We offer a financial grant. We have virtual support groups for parents who are in active treatment, parents who have a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, for partners. We have a group for bereaved partners, a meetup group for parents in long-term survivorship, a meetup group for parents of color, and starting in June, we have a meetup group for couples. We also do connections for kids. Some of these are on screen, like we have a monthly activity group called Bright Circle and Bright Club, which helps brings kids together to do simple, connective, and expressive activities such as song and dance, art activities. It's often about coping skills and dealing with changes, a little bit of cancer education. We also have exchanges where we match kids with some other kids somewhere in the country and they can send each other Valentines or notes, build that community because we understand how important it is for kids to have that connection just as adults need that. We have webinars for parents. We'll have one coming up in June about sex and intimacy, one about getting back to school and involving your child's school. Near the end of the year, we're going to have one about anticipatory grief. So just check our website for those. All of our programs are free of charge. There's never any cost. Just get to our website to find links to all of these. We'll do workshops throughout the years. Maybe it's family art workshops or Lego building. Sometimes it's wellness activity. I do navigation meetings to help parents get connected to local resources. And then our website also has just a wealth of resources for parents, including coloring pages and guides and feeling wheels, a parent blog, videos. There's a customizable book that's basically like a social story that you can um, tailor to your specific cancer experience. And then you print it, and your kid has it that they can color and read. So hopefully a lot of tools that you can find as you're trying to have these conversations with your kids. So just kind of some high level information here about what kids need when a loved one has cancer. And really, I think it can boil down to these three elements. The first is that children need safe, reliable, and compassionate caregivers. They need consistent routines and structure, and they need open, honest, and developmentally appropriate communication. And if you are a part of supporting a child through cancer, something to keep in mind is parents and loved ones, but especially parents, have a unique expertise on their children. So it's great to attend talks like this and talk to your social worker and your therapist and other people that really live and breathe this work. They have great information. But filter it through your own gut because you know what's going to work with your kids and what's not. And really trust that. You really are an expert on your own kids. Recognize that you may not have all of the answers to their questions, and that is okay. It's always okay to say, "Gosh, that's a great question. I'm not sure. Let me ask my doctor." But what's most important is that you're showing up for your kids. They notice that you're there and that you are physically present, or you're, connecting with them through phone or through video calls if you're away for a long time. But just that presence and showing that you're there means the world to them. And lastly, honesty really is the best policy. Kids have incredible imaginations, and often, if they're being protected, I know a lot of well intentioned parents and loved ones want to keep a cancer diagnosis from kids, but kids will often make up a story that's far worse than the truth because of these incredible imaginations they have. And they pick up on hushed conversations, they overhear words, they pick up on changes in caregivers and routine, even just sort of the energy in the house. So, in general, we want to be honest with kids. That doesn't mean we're telling them every dirty detail. We can still be developmentally appropriate and meet them where they're at, but in general, keeping them informed about what's happening. So, why are books important in all of this? Truly, our parents continue to tell us they are sometimes the best way to have these difficult conversations. So often, parents tell us, I had no words. I had no idea how to talk to my toddler, my preschooler, these young children. How do I talk to them in a way they understand? And books can give you not only the language that you're looking for, but also the pictures that help kids to really draw those connections between words they're hearing, and then they're starting to see things that maybe resonate with what they're seeing, and it's repetition. Books can be the best way for kids, especially young kids, to understand and learn new concepts and process big feelings. The language and the vocabulary that they're hearing, getting to understand different feelings and model how to cope with them are all tools that kids will get out of books. So when we overlap books with what kids need, we talked about having safe, reliable, and compassionate caregivers. Reading books with kids builds connection. Often there's even a physical connection because if a young kid is like sitting on a lap or cuddled up next to you, it's that physical connection, that vitamin T, oxytocin that helps both of you, and it shows that you are there, right? And that is so much with kids, is just having that physical connection. It shows that you are spending time with them, you're being present with them. So just the act of reading with kids, regardless of the content, is an important point of contact. Consistent routines and structure. Reading books with children reinforces special time together. A lot of times, parents, whether they know it or not, build this into their daily routine, reading before bedtime or possibly before a nap or when kids get home from school, whatever it is. When you start to build that into your routine, kids look forward to it and they kind of start to know, like, oh, this is my time that I'm going to learn something new or get into my imagination and have a fun story. Open, honest, developmentally appropriate communication. Reading books teaches children about cancer, treatment, and big emotions. So books really do kind of hit these core three elements of supporting kids. What we have learned from our Bright Reads program is that, books provide the language when finding words is hard, especially when you're trying to introduce really complex topics like chemotherapy and radiation. Those are difficult concepts to try and break down for a young child, and books they've figured out a way to wordsmith that in a way that young kids understand. It helps kids to manage big emotions. Kids being able to identify, common things that kids feel about feeling scared and worried and angry. This is all normalized in these books, and it not only helps kids to attach a word and meaning to a feeling, but also start to learn how to cope with it and also feel validated in what they're feeling. Because for some kids, they think that they might be the only one feeling this way. It builds connection between parent and child, and it really does validate the cancer experience in a family. There is nothing like sitting down and seeing an experience represented in a book. Adults find this to be true, but it's especially important for kids. So when they can see in a book another mom who is bald, another mom wearing a scarf, another dad who's using a cane, that's huge because they probably don't know any other kids that have a parent with cancer. So when they can say, "Look, that mom has a scarf too, just like your scarf." That's a great connection to start making, and then you can start having those conversations about what the scarf means and losing hair. And then kid might get interested in coloring pictures about that or creating new scarves. It just can sort of explode from there in a very good way to get them processing and thinking. We know that Bright Reads, again, provides language when finding words is hard. And so these are just comments that we've received from parents, and I don't need to read all through them, but there's really just this ongoing appreciation of having the guide when you are lost. Because often as the parent or adult with cancer, you're overwhelmed and you have no idea how to introduce these concepts to kids. And so having a guide that resonates for you makes it a lot easier. When we talk about managing big emotions, again, parents are finding that finding books about emotions, and there are board books for very young children, even infants and toddlers. We have parents here talking about their 2-year-olds being able to name emotions, all the way up through truly teenagers. We all can use more information about emotions, identifying emotions, and what to do with those emotions. And then, of course, building connections. We're finding more and more parents saying, like, this time together is paramount. Going through treatment, I was exhausted. I had no energy to run around after my 3-year-old, but that reading time before bed was what I prioritized. I delegated all the other tasks in my day so that I could save up the energy to read to my child before bedtime. That was what was important. So for a lot of parents, this is that special time. Validating cancer experience in a family, this is super important. And there are more and more books getting published that try to represent a diverse experience of cancer. You're not probably going to always find your specific experience represented in a book, but hopefully you'll find something close because being able to have that is really important. And if you're not finding that, this is when you can use something like that customizable book that we offer on our website to drop in your own pictures and create your own words so that your family can be represented. Because for young children, that's really important. They want to feel normalized. They want to see their own experience represented in book and picture. So something that we learned over the last year is that, okay, books are great. We're hearing that from parents. Like, okay, yay, it's great to have these books. But that for most parents, they are taking these books and reading them front to back, word for word, which is great. That's like the basic way to use a book. Talking to some literacy experts in our community, we were hearing more and more about how, of course, books can be taken beyond that, right? So you can take the text of a book and then stop while you're reading and ask questions with your kid to kind of check their understanding, to have bigger conversations, to draw connections to your own family. You can have games and art and movement and all kinds of activities that are tied to the book you're reading, and then just take them to the next level. And so we really wanted to create guides to pair with our books so that parents could get more mileage out of them. So we spent last year creating guides. We got input from some different child development experts, including an early childhood literacy expert, a certified child life specialist, and a licensed clinical social worker who's also a parent with cancer, because we wanted to have their lens on this project. And what we created are, on one side, a general guide to help parents and loved ones to make connections between the story and their own family, some basic questions that they might want to ask to facilitate understanding of new concepts, prompts to process emotional response, and suggestions for creative activities to enhance emotional and cognitive processing and strengthen familial connections. So these discussion guides are also on our website. They're on our resource page. They're all free and downloadable. And even if you don't have these books at home, they're still really helpful. You could use some of these suggested questions and art activities to do with your kids, even if you don't have the book. Or what's great is, you can go, a lot of local libraries have these books, or if you have access to the internet, you can find videos for all of the books we offer. You can find free videos to watch on YouTube of someone reading the book. So you and the child in your life can watch the video of the book and then pull out this guide and, discuss some of these questions or do some of the activities. We understand that every kid and every family is unique. So the guides are intended to be used by the adults in this kid's life. And what's great is it doesn't have to be a parent. They're pretty generalizable. Questions are posed from the perspective of a parent with cancer, but you can change the language as you see fit. And the suggested ages on the guides are listed, but of course, that's sort of subjective. So, but depending on your kid and their development, you can just adjust to what makes sense for them. We offer on these guides some very easy starter questions. So, like, these are examples. What did you think of the story? How did it make you feel? What is similar or different between this story and our family story? What did you learn from this story? Incredibly simple, basic questions, but they can yield great response and be the starting point for some great discussions. As far as how to have conversations with kids, I have really found that adults tend to say too much. We fill in the blank. It's best, especially with young kids, but truly even some school age kids, to really edit down what you're saying. You can always expand and build, but starting with super short sentences. So, I have cancer. Cancer is, and depending on the word you like, cancer is an illness. I'm going to the doctor to get better. They're giving me medicine that may make me feel sick and tired. You can't catch cancer. I didn't catch it from anyone. I'm getting a medicine called chemotherapy. Nothing you did or said caused me to get cancer. You can hug and snuggle me all you want and you'll never get cancer. You can always ask me questions about cancer or how I feel. These are just some very, very basic points. You may say all of them just one at a time. The thing with kids and having these conversations is it's never a one and done. You are going to be revisiting these concepts over and over again. And it's pretty important that kids know some of these basic concepts. You'll see a lot of these echoed in most of the children's books. They try to cover these basic concepts as well, but it's nice that kids get them from different sources. So modeling emotion and coping skills. While you're reading books with kids, a great thing to do is make comments, editorialize throughout the story. Like, oh gosh, that little boy looks really sad. I know I would feel sad too if my mom had to stay in the hospital for a long time. I would really miss her. It shows some honest vulnerability. As the parent, you might say, sometimes I feel worried when I have a doctor's appointment. And then talk about how you cope. When I'm feeling angry, sometimes I find it helps when I punch a pillow. That really makes me feel better. Sometimes I just really need to listen to my favorite song and cry. That just really helps me to get it out. When you speak out loud an internal process, you're teaching kids what to do with feelings. I think that's one of the best things you can do as an adult around children is again give words to an internal process, because How else are they going to learn how to deal with these big feelings and big emotions? So if you're kind of saying out loud what's going on inside of you, they're picking it up and going, okay, that's so that the behaviors I'm seeing that's matching mom is saying she's feeling worried. Okay, so that must be worried. Okay, she's saying that she likes to make a list when she's feeling worried. That helps her feel better. Okay, that could be something I do. It's a great learning opportunity for kids. And again, while no parent would ever say that they wanted cancer, what I hear from most parents is even though that experience is terrible, once they get to the other side, they look back and say, huh, that was actually a growth opportunity for all of us. I had no idea my kids actually had some of the independence and the maturity and the problem solving skills that they did until they were tasked with having that independence, having to figure it out by themselves. Wow. We started some new routines that we never would have. Like, we really got into doing silly family yoga on Thursday nights, and we keep doing that even though I'm in remission and I'm feeling great. We love to go for Sunday night walks. We like to do our check-ins at dinner, whatever it is. These very little routines and changes that might have spurred because of the cancer might stick because you find that it just makes your family better. There really are, sometimes this is like a bristly statement, but there can be some silver linings of this. And even when I've talked to older children and teens, they've said, I really feel like this experience helped me to prioritize in life and, see the, see what I'm grateful for, and feel like I just have a greater sense of what's important in life. Keep in mind that there are a lot of creative activities for kids to process. There's so many different ways that kids can take in information and start to figure out what to do with it. So, art, of course, is always great, whether they do it independently or collaboratively with a family, games, movement, any kind of mindfulness. These are all different modalities that you can use with your kids to learn information and to start thinking about feelings. And I do wanna just sort of close with a Maya Angelou quote that I love, and it reinforces how important it is to just show up. And I'm gonna interchange the word kids with people and say, kids will forget what you said, kids will forget what you did, but kids will never forget how you made them feel. And I really do think this is the case. And I also say it so that adults can let go of having to feel perfect because I will promise you, you will make mistakes. You will say the wrong thing. You will do something and that you wish that you would have done differently. But the great thing is you can always do fix ups. Go back and make fix ups because number one, it role models to your kids accountability and taking responsibility and making mistakes and growing from it. And it shows that you respect them enough to come back and say, you know what, yesterday when we were talking, I'm sorry when I totally shut down and I got angry, and I know I kinda yelled at you. I took some time to just kinda have some deep breaths, and I wanna come back and have that conversation again. Or, you know what? I think what I told you yesterday, I think I might have given you the wrong information. So I wanna correct that, and this is actually what I learned instead. All of those are not only okay, but truly an important learning moment, but for you and your kids, it's a growth opportunity. So to wrap up, just see how far you can take these books. A quote from a parent: we actually received our Bright Spot books yesterday, Cancer Hates Kisses and Too Many Cells, and they were just exactly what our family needed. I cried the whole time I was reading, and my 5-year-old and husband chanted, Go, mommy, while I cried until I was able to read again. Then we laughed, and my little one asked all kinds of questions, and we all cried some more. But it was absolutely the best thing. She loved the mommy superhero pages. So I'm going to stop the presentation at this point and open it up and see if you have any questions. And it could be specific to using books or about supporting kids. I'm kind of open game here.